All right. So, flexible eating. There's a few topics I want to talk about. Is there any questions that you guys have?
Put one up.
I read Jill's.
I'm having a look now. I've been
read-
flooded today. It's crazy. All right.
I read Jill's, and Jill, it sounds like you need more calories.
Jill's question is, what do you eat or do when you are starving? Around 4 p.m., you have had 2 large glasses of water and dinner is a couple of hours away and calories tight. So I'll start with the end of that question where it says calories tight. When we work out your calories, it is as Jono would call it, a scientific guess. So it's just a guess. It's a rough guess of where we should be. And every day is going to be a little bit different because of how active you are. And especially if you're really active, 3 or 4 days in a row, then that deficit's going to build up and build up. And to the point where you do get hungry, and no matter how many vegetables you've eaten or how much water you've drunk or fruit you've eaten and protein at each meal, you're still hungry. And in that case, you can be very, very confident that you're in a huge deficit. So in that case, you can be very confident that you can have an extra meal. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, but I had lunch and then I had an apple and then I was hungry at 3:30, so I had half a thing of yogurt and some blueberries. And
Yep.
then I went shopping and all I could see was food I wanted to eat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is good. Let's go with this. So I'm going to share my screen and just explain. You'll love this. Estimated calories that we worked out for you, Jill.
1,600.
All right. So now you do a lot of exercise. That's no secret. And we can, there is a bit of a fear, I know, of you going over your calories, right?
Yep.
You have a little bit of a fear of eating 2,000, eating 2,100. It just sounds like way too much food for yourself. Nikki,
Yes.
how much do you eat at the moment?
16 to 17,
Okay. How much did you used to eat when we do these ones?
12, 11 to 12.
Yep. And what do you feel is different?
Me. I'm feeling I'm eating the right amount now at the moment for my energy levels. Like before, I was just so under eating, as you know. So I'm eating enough. I'm eating enough to feel energetic and to be able to complete my workouts and just feel good. Although I must say, last night I wake up at 4 o'clock this morning. I was starving.
Yep. And that's a sign that you're in a good deficit. Waking up in the morning hungry is, if we want to have fat loss, that's a really good guide to know if we're in a deficit, because it's your longest fasting period. So waking up hungry is a great little test. Now, I'm going a little bit off track there, but basically, Nikki, you feel like you've got more energy, you're a bit stronger. You're still in a deficit. Are you getting through the day without being hungry?
Yes, I feel much more satisfied. I can get through the day now my day either is 3 meals or it might be three meals and 1 snack, but I don't feel that starving hungry that I always used to feel in the past.
Yeah.
I feel, yeah.
So
basically, 3 meals and 1 snack for me.
And it works for you. So everything that we do is a bit of a trial, adjust, repeat. That's like kind of the motto of this whole 28 days: trial, adjust, and repeat. So we make little adjustments to our week based on how we're feeling. So Jill, what we'd expect from you, I know you've had a really good week, not just exercise wise, but I know you're on a bit of a mission to see a little bit of a loss on the scales this week. So what we're going to do is just trial, which you've done. We're going to look at the scales, see what happens. And if we see quite a big loss, then we adjust those calories.
Yep.
If we don't see a loss, then we can probably pretty safely guess that we need to adjust something in your day to maybe change the placings of your meals or the type of foods you're eating. But I would be very surprised if we don't see a loss on those scales. And with the plans that we make, we want, with the estimated guess that we do, we're looking at 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week based on our estimated guess of 1,600, right?
Yeah.
So 1% of your body weight would be 620 or 630 grams roughly. So if we get a loss of that, if we get a loss of 630 grams, basically we make a decision of whether that's sustainable. If you've been hungry all week and really craving and it's affected you because you've been having to think about food all day, then maybe we aim for that 0.5. Either just know how you feel and be very confident that you're in a deficit. Now, the foods that you went for as well to cure those cravings were very low density foods. So you only had an apple, some berries, some yogurt, and in total that might have been 200 calories. But if you're that hungry that you can't stop thinking about food, you're probably going to need more than 200 calories to satisfy that craving, which is where we often feel like we need a chocolate bar or we need an ice cream, because we can get that quick intake of food and our brain's just telling us we need that thing. And we give in quite easily because we're listening to our body. You're doing great just to gradually bump these calories up and believe in the process, because I know that we used to be down here as well at the 1200 calorie mark at points. So to see that you're now up at 1600 and you are stronger, and I'm sure we're fitter, definitely stronger. You mentioned it today in your legs. And, to know that you're eating 1600 and still starving tells me that we could probably, hopefully after this week, maybe bump this up.
Yeah.
And, it might just be a 10% increase. So instead of 18, we might just go to sort of 1750 to start. Make sure you still feel okay, take the feedback on board, and then go from there. All right.
That's what I found with this, as opposed to last challenges where I was, to bump me up to 1600, I almost had a heart attack. So I was thinking, oh my God, that's just way too much to eat. But now I'm just finding this 16 to 17 is good for me, and I'm not stressing about it so much. I'm not looking at, for me personally, I'm not looking at the scales. I'm judging myself on my own hunger.
Yeah.
And obviously just what Jono's sort of given me, but
Yep.
Yeah, like opposed to past challenges, I would have died if you'd said 1600. I would go no, I just I'm 1200 because I couldn't possibly eat 1600.
Yep. And having said that, those first couple of weeks were hard for you to eat that much because of the choices of food you're making, the very low density foods. So all of a sudden you have to eat so much volume in your belly to get to 1700, which is amazing because you're never hungry and you're still losing fat. Definitely not putting on weight, even though you're feeling stuffed the whole time. So the cravings reduce and everyone's a winner. But it takes that learning process. You have to learn it yourself. Don't feel like you should have done it earlier. Doing it now is a better time than ever. And it's just been great to have you trust in the whole process with Jono coming on board as well for you. So this leads me to, I guess I could go straight on to the constant deficit here. So it was briefly in the video in week 1, briefly touched upon that constant deficit thing. And I'm going to touch upon it again in week 3 or 4. So I'm going to give myself 1 minute maximum. Shut me off if I keep going.
Go.
I'm sure you found today quite hard, Jill, because of that not the temptation, but the constant thinking about food.
Yeah, just this afternoon.
What was that, sorry?
Only this afternoon.
Yeah. So if we're outside of a challenge period and we don't really have a goal set, then it's very easy just to eat away and go nuts because you're hungry. So your body's telling you to eat. So if we're not really mindful of what our goals are or our priorities are, then it's very hard to continue that deficit. So if the body's in a constant deficit, it's a very hard thing to achieve long term, very unsustainable. So what Jono talks about in that week 1 is coming in and out of deficit. So actually planning when your deficit's going to be. You're going to do 4 weeks of deficit, you're going to do 5 weeks deficit, 3 weeks deficit, where you're mindful, you're prioritizing, and then actually purposely going into maintenance phase or even a surplus phase. And those maintenance and surplus phases is just a bump up in calories. We've got to be sensible about where we bump them up. Like we don't want to just go silly, but all of a sudden we don't have those cravings. So we don't have to be as thoughtful of food. We don't have to resist temptation as much because we don't really have the temptation. We're not craving like crazy. That's one thing that I really want you guys to learn from yourselves is when you're eating a certain amount of food like Nikki has, how much less those cravings are. And it's not just because your mindset's at a better point. It's because you're eating more food and you're probably eating closer to the amount you should be, and you're being patient with the numbers. You're seeing it creep down, and all of a sudden you're not having blowouts. And it's, yes, it's a slow process, but it's easy. So let's just take that as a win and keep going. All right, so constant deficit, I'll touch upon that more in week 4 because leading out of the 28 days, everyone should think about maintaining or surplusing so that we're not just in a deficit forever. All right, flexible eating, allowing flexibility. All right, so let's think about food plans and diets and how many there are. There's so many diets out there. If you want to rattle some off, we've got keto, we've got fasting, intermittent fasting,
Mediterranean.
Well, yeah, plant-based diet, if you want to call that a diet. You've got
Low carb,
carnivore, low carb, high protein.
8-hour diet.
zone,
Atkins.
South Beach diet.
So there's lots of diets out there. Now, all of them, if they're going to achieve fat loss, achieve a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't matter which one they are. The only reason they've got your results, including the one you're doing at the moment, all it's achieved is a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sorry, Josh. All I can think of now is that James Smith saying, it's just effing, calorie deficit.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, and it's good. He's a realist. It's good to listen to sometimes, and it's very rude sometimes. And
Yes, he is.
every now and then, it's just good to have that reality check that every diet is all it's achieving is a calorie deficit to help you lose fat. The juice diet. Why do you lose, or celery diet, the celery juice or the soup, whatever it is? Why do you lose so quick? Because you're eating no calories. So but we've got to find what suits you. So not saying that ours is perfect, but there's reasons why it's in place. And hopefully those reasons are covered in the week 1 PDF where we're talking about, all right, it's satisfying. That's our number 1. It's satisfying. We're really focusing on foods that are low density. So I hate healthy and unhealthy. It's not about that. It's satisfying. It's dense. Low density and high density. And we're focusing on mostly low density foods. When I say low density, low calorie food, so we can eat more of it and feel full. Now that's not going to suit everyone because some people don't even have an appetite, right? So for some people, they might need to go the opposite direction and actually find foods that are high density and eat more. But we've got to find what works for you. And then if we talk about keto, we eliminate carbohydrates. So for some people, just eliminating a food group makes it easier for them because it's just out of the question. They can't touch it. And then all of a sudden their options are limited. So they might not find themselves snacking as much because half of the stuff they enjoy is gone. It's kind of like being addicted to chocolate and then eliminating chocolate as an option. If chocolate was the only thing that you were struggling with and it's gone now, then all of a sudden it's a lot easier to achieve. So all I want to get there is every diet achieves a calorie deficit. So whatever works for you long-term is great. We've just got to find it. But a great place to start is something that satisfies you. And the other reason we go the way we do, so satisfying is because of the high protein with each meal. It's also the fiber that we're getting in with each meal. Now that high protein is also helping us to promote muscle maintenance. So that muscle maintenance is important for our energy burn as well. So long term, we may benefit and burn fat faster because we have maintained more muscle. And then our carbohydrates that we have in our plans, which, definitely it's not a low carb plan. It's probably an average carbohydrate plan, but it looks like a high carb plan if you compare to a lot of other diets. So a lot of diets will, eliminate bread, eliminate rice from lunch. So you might have some carbs at brekkie, but then you're on a salad diet the rest of the day. So ours compared to that looks quite high in carbohydrates. It's not, it's actually average or even just below. But the reason there is because we want to fuel your performance, fuel your body, get that energy in so you can use it well in the sessions, but also so you can cognitively function quite well. You got that energy coming in. At the end of the day, if we still hit the same amount of calories, if it's 1,600 with our plan and 1,600 with another plan, it's still 1,600 calories either way. So what we usually see though is, okay, our 1,600, someone else might lose 3 kilos in 2 weeks. They weren't. They were on. They might have been on the celery diet, which was hitting 200 calories. Or that's very low.
God. And not being able to get out of bed.
Say they hit 1,000 calories, right? Let's just say that. Let's give them that. The difference between their diet and our diet was really the 600 calories. It wasn't that it was better or worse. Was it sustainable? Could you then incorporate that into your daily life? Or could you, more so, could you come out of that and quite well come out of that? Because as I mentioned before, that calorie deficit doesn't have to be forever. So if you can incorporate something for a short period of time and then come out of it well, then that's effective as well, just as effective. Doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a plan that Jill can stick to forever. It needs to be a plan that Jill can stick to for 4 weeks and then have a little break, but then come back to it quite easily so that she can go again for 4 weeks and then have a little break. And that break can't be an explosion of calories in 3,000, 3,200. Now, for Jill, if she knocked it down to 1,000, I know that strength wouldn't be there, the energy levels, and then because of that, the mood would change as well. Because it is important for you to come to the gym and enjoy the session. And if you lost that from your life, then you won't be as happy. So I do know that a 1,000 calorie plan for yourself won't be a long-term success. But that's just based on you. All right. So where I'm going with this is that all of those different plans do the same thing, right? Now, in my head, all those different plans is flexibility, right? So that's what I would say flexible dieting. Nikki, I'm sure you've tried more than most of those.
Why do you say that, Josh?
So you're a flexible dieter, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, you will find what works for you the most. And I believe getting closer and closer to, hitting it on the head. And it might not even be that you need to find the perfect thing. It might just be curiosity that's, getting you to try other things. But at the end of the day, you know that it's just a calorie deficit. And if you want to try something and just believe that it's going to be a calorie deficit, then you'll find whether it suits your lifestyle better.
Yep.
All right. So talking about that, if we want to talk about flexibility, then we need to incorporate things that we enjoy. Because if we want to do it long term and we have to take 4 weeks off things that we enjoy regularly, so back to Jill, if she goes 4 weeks on a plan and then let's say 2 weeks off and then 4 weeks on, that's more time without the stuff she enjoys than it is with the stuff you enjoy. And that's not very good. So let's just, for ease of explanation's sake, say that your enjoyment, Jill, is wine.
Oh, I was going to say that.
Rosé.
Coincidence. I'm just picking that out of a hat. And maybe the odd chocolate bar that irregularly pops up, and I don't know, like a Magnum or something like that.
Yeah. Once every 6 months.
Now, let's say you have an overwhelming desire to have a wine, and you resist that temptation, and then you resist it again, and then you resist it again, and then you resist it again. This thing that you enjoy, that you are holding yourself back from having, can negatively affect your thought towards the meal plan that you're on. Because you can start to despise this meal plan based on the fact that you are avoiding something that you really, really want for 4 weeks, and then you're only allowed it for 2. Which can then lead to, instead of having one wine, at those 2 weeks off the meal plan, you might have it every night because you don't know when you're going to have it again. Even though you might not even felt like it one night, you might as well get it in because you don't know if you're going to have it again. So we can develop these habits of binging and then all or nothing, I guess I'm trying to get at. And we don't want that, because it leads us to do things that aren't really helping our goals long term. We're just going around in circles. And as long as we're getting slightly smaller circles and we're getting better and better at it, that's fine. Because it's not easy to just go, okay, well, I'm going to allow it then. I'm on a mission to lose fat, but I'm going to allow wine, and I'm going to slow my results because Josh said so. It takes time to actually believe that you can have a wine and lose fat. And it comes back again to the calories thing, and trial, adjust, repeat. So,
Sorry, Josh, I was going to say, this is what I was saying to you last night. It's also about not just the calories, it's about your mind. Saying, if you give yourself permission to say, okay, I will allow myself to have that half a glass of wine tonight, but then I've also given myself that I'm going to have that, for me, that 5 days alcohol free. as I was saying to you last night, it doesn't have to be Monday to Friday. It can be, if I think, Monday night, like I said to you, Monday night, I thought, I'm watching the footy. I really would like a drink. Okay, have one. But then that means then that I then have the next 4 nights without, but I haven't put that, and this is the first time I've done this, given myself that permission, whereas normally I wouldn't. I'd do exactly what you said. I can't have it, and it builds up, and then it spills into those 2 days where you just go ballistic.
Yeah.
Chocolate bars.
Sorry, Jill.
What was that, Jill?
Well, it makes you weaker.
Yes.
Then you have your wine and think, oh, well, I'll just have that chocolate that's in the fridge.
Yeah.
And that's that. It's almost like a feeling of failure. So you just give up and have the chocolate. Whereas if Nikki's given herself permission, then you can stay on track. But you do have to definitely, you have to believe in that permission that you're giving yourself. And that's where I do think the numbers always have to be thought about. I know not everyone's a numbers person, but if you think about what I talked about last week, which was this, a kilo of fat, 7,000 calorie surplus, is that half a glass of wine going to do much? If you allow permission once or twice a week, is that going to do anything to that 7,000 calorie surplus? And the answer is very minimal. And you can counterbalance that. Like, you've got a meal plan that satisfies you to no end, Nikki. Like, you're very satisfied. So if you wanted to, not that you had to, but if you wanted to stay at the same amount, you could just take something out.
Yeah.
And it's only 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah.
But it would be fine also to actually have that wine on top of those. It's not like it's putting you into a surplus, because we know that deficit is already got you in that amount of calories already got you in a deficit. If you have half a glass of wine, it's probably got you closer to maintenance, but you're still in a deficit. And if we were in half a glass of wine deficit, if we were in like a 50 calorie deficit, that's going to take you 120 days to lose a kilo. So we're not in half a glass of wine deficit. We're in a bigger deficit than that. So allowing yourself permission when you really want that wine means that you definitely won't crave it as often.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So I love what you said there, that just allowing yourself permission to do it. And I think part of that is also developing that relationship with food where you don't fear this massive group of foods and think of them as not fat loss.
Mm.
So I'm gonna preach it again. Calories, calorie. At the end of the day, if you decide to get all your calories from wine, you're going to feel pretty terrible, and you're not going to want to do that after a while, aren't you? So
I'm actually living in the right suburb for that, but we'll just say that quietly.
So the next thing is when you do have a bit of a blowout. Like, let's say that you've gone to the shop and you just said, stuff it. I'm going to allow myself to have a full block of chocolate.
You like this one?
Oh, God, you're a good Pip.
All right. Real life example then. You got 2 ways to go about this, Pip. You could allow yourself a little bit and feel fine about it. You could allow yourself a whole block and feel fine about it. Or you could not allow yourself a full block, eat it anyway, and feel terrible about it, and then let it spiral.
Yeah.
Whatever you decide is the right choice because you decided it. So I need you to own that, allow it, let it happen, and then deal with the next day as it comes. However, having said that, are you on your phone or are you on a laptop?
I'm on my laptop, yeah.
So if you have your phone, can you log that? How much are you going to allow yourself to eat? Be honest.
Probably 4 squares.
All right. So log your 4 squares for me.
It's not my favourite chocolate, so 4 squares. Yeah, give me a sec.
Good that you got it. It's not even your favourite chocolate. Jeez.
My phone's really slow, sorry.
Oh.
What is the chocolate?
It's hazelnut, dairy milk hazelnut.
Mm.
Oh, it's not in Easy Diet Diary, Josh. How can I do this?
Can tell me how much there is?
Well, there you go. A serving is 585 kilojoules.
Okay.
That's 4 squares.
Okay, that's all I need. Yep, cool. 585 kilojoules, which is roughly 100 and
Is it divided by 4?
about 130 calories. Okay.
146 to be perfect, if it's divided by 4.
So that's about a glass of wine.
It's a little bit less, but let's just go 146. Did you say, Pip?
Yeah.
Okay, so 146 calories, 4 squares of chocolate. Now, how many calories are you? Did you estimate?
1900 to 2100.
Yeah. Okay. So I love having a range as well because you're still in a deficit there.
Yeah.
1900 to 2100, somewhere in there, great. Even if you're below, who cares? If you're above, that's fine for a day or 2 or 3, or you're still in a deficit, and your maintenance is probably around what, 26, 28?
Oh yeah, about that maybe. I think.
They're big numbers. We're talking that when we hit 1,000 calories, we get quick losses, but we're also only giving our body probably half of what it needs. So we're not really nourishing our bodies. So 1900 to 21. And then we look at this number compared to that.
Yeah.
All right. So now all of a sudden, if we can eliminate the view of food that doesn't help us to lose fat, food that does, which shouldn't be our viewpoint, in my opinion. Let's look at. I'm trying to do some quick math and talk at the same time. That does not work. 54 to 1954. That's how many calories left you have to eat in a day. I think.
It's better, yeah.
You still have to eat that many just to have your fat loss amount, let alone your maintenance amount. All right. Now, I know every now and then you allow a whole block.
Yep.
So how many squares are in a block? How many rows?
Oh. There's 7.2 servings per chocolate block.
All right.
So 7.2 times 146.
I'll just say 7 times 150. How about we do that? 7 times 150. So let's say, I'm going to use my calculator.
7.2 is a weird serving, isn't it? Who gets the 0.2?
1150.
I got 1,050. Is that, 7.2 was it?
Oh, yeah. 750. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go with 1,100, hey? And before you had 1,900 to 21, right?
Yep.
So you had a full block, and I'm not saying it's a good day. Like when I say it's not a good day, you won't have the vitamins and minerals you need from it. If you did that long term, you would feel quite lethargic. You would be maybe deficient in vitamins and minerals of some sort.
Yeah.
But having said that, if it's a once off, you still have to eat another 800 to 1,000 calories in that day just to get your fat loss calories up. But what usually happens is when someone has a block of chocolate is that, that dinner they might decide that it's all ruined and they go for something else. But the other thing is that 1,100 calories won't be super satisfying because that's only in about 200 grams of food. I have 150 grams of dry oats before I put milk in it, and then I have 150 grams of blueberries, and then I have protein powder. So I have about a half a kilo of breakfast.
Did you have the loop? Did you have the lupin though?
Oh, not yet. So that 200 grams of food, which is this big, my breakfast is twice that big, and then I have the same size meal again and again and again and again. So a satisfying day is going to lead to less cravings, whereas that block of chocolate, you might find that by afternoon you're wanting some more food, and then that's when it's a little bit easier to overshoot the calories. Anyway, my point there was that is just to go on what Nikki was saying, is that whatever you decide, allow it because you decided it, and at the time, if you made that choice, then own that decision. And at the end of the day, I guarantee if you're eating a block of chocolate every day, you're not going to want to. You won't want to do it for, especially if you're still fitting it in, right? And you're hitting your numbers, you're going to get sick of eating that because you can't eat much the rest of the day as well.
Yeah.
So at some point you go, well, I need to halve that block of chocolate because I want to eat more food. And then you go, well, I'm going to reduce that again by half because I want to eat more food again. And then I want to reduce that again by half. I want to eat more food again. But what you don't want to do is just believe that you failed because you had that block.
Yeah.
I don't care how much food you eat. You never failed. Okay. And you're never judged. You shouldn't be judged by anyone based on what you eat.
Yeah.
And a lot of the judgment is often coming from ourselves, from what we perceive as this terrible food, this evil food that we shouldn't be touching, and we've touched it. And in the reality, it's all made up of carbohydrates, fats, and protein. Yes, there's these foods that have extra vitamins and minerals, but it's still all made up of carbs and fats and proteins. And you're not eating that chocolate for nutrition. You're not going there going, oh, what do I get veggies wise? I'll get a block of chocolate. You're getting it because you want to have some pleasure out of that chocolate, and you want to feel satisfied. And if you can get 80% of your day in really nutritious foods and hit all your vitamins and minerals, like, not that you should know how much of this to hit all this, but if you can get some really nutritious foods going, and then you enjoy your love of food in the other 20%, just remember that you're not having that 20% for nutrition. That's your food love. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like, Jill has her wine, and then occasionally we'll have a chocolate bar, and it's human nature for us to feel a little bit guilty, but we can improve that mindset. We can change that mindset step by step. And, and I actually love the game of logging and fitting these little things in. Well, I don't log often. I'll be honest. Like, I've logged for probably 12 months. I probably did about 12 months straight, give or take. And I learned so much that when I log now, it's just to see what this food is, because I haven't eaten this food before, and I don't really know. Or if I just can't remember because it's been so long, then I'll log something, and you just pick things up over time. So, but when I go back to actually logging, I log a full day, and I realize that I can fit these little things in that I really craved and I was avoiding. It always makes me feel good when it's just one day of the week. It's not like I'm going to have it every day. It's just one day of the week, and I fit it in, and I know, and I can be confident that I've still hit my fat loss calories, and I can still get those goals, even though I had the food that I was craving. And the next day, all of a sudden, I don't crave that food because I allowed it, I accepted it, I had it, and I don't crave it anymore. So we all have to learn that at our own rate. And Pip's rate will be different from my rate, and my rate will be different from Jill's rate, and Jill's rate different from Nikki's, and Mum, yours will be different again. So never judge anyone because they're just at a different level. It's just like, some people will have 5 liters of Coca-Cola a day, and for them to go down to 4 is a win. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. And it's easy for us to look at that and say, oh, my goodness, they're having 4 liters, but we don't know the backstory. We don't know, where have they come from. So always, and the pinnacle, I always think about this pinnacle of what people envision as health and the peak health when it's talking about food. And I see someone farming their own organically grown produce, and if that's our idea of health, we're never going to all achieve that. So we've all got this little, trying to draw it opposite because it's reversed. We've all got this circle, right? Where, okay, this is the peak. This is the organically grown produce in our backyard. Everything's fresh and nothing has been processed. That's definitely not me. So I might be somewhere, I went the wrong way. I might be somewhere down this, I can't do that. Let's say that's the top, that's the ladder. And I might be down here, that ladder, and I'm happy with that. That's cool, because previously I was down here. So everyone's got that level, and if we all aim for this organically grown produce, and you shouldn't be having anything packaged and anything like that, that's only going to be achievable for certain people, and for them it'll be quite easy. It won't take much effort for them because that's where they want to be, and it's a very high priority in their life. And for me, I'm here, and all my priorities are here at the moment, and I'm making those decisions, and that's cool. And at the moment, let's say I do want to have some fat loss, I'm going to prioritize a little bit more and come up to here and prioritize my food a little bit more. But then I'll slip back here and prioritize a little bit less because I've got to focus on family, or I've got to focus on work a bit more. And at that time, that's my priority. So your food needs to change with your priorities. I like to think about food plans and exercise plans in a similar way that, okay, an exercise plan, you get this question, what's the best exercise? Full stop. What's the best exercise?
Walking.
Right, well, where do I start? What's your goals? What, blah, 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 blah. What's the best food? Well, what's your goals? You can't, and then, okay, well, what's the best exercise for fat loss? All right, what's the best food for fat loss? Well, it depends on your circumstances. Okay, well, if I give you this rip-roaring program for fat loss based on your goals and your skill level, all right, and I'm going to include deadlifts, and let's say someone that wants to get strong. I'm going to do deadlifts, overhead press, bench press, pull-ups, and I'm going to also do back squats. All right, there's your 5 exercises for the rest of your life. Go and do them forever. What's the best meal plan for fat loss? Okay, kale, chicken breast, brown rice, and fruit. And we also need some sort of color in there to get your vitamins. Let's just say carrots. All right. There's your 5 foods for the rest of your life. We can't do that. We need to have some flexibility in both our training and our food. And it's not. What's that?
I said you're going to be an orange hangry deadlifter.
And occasionally we might want to do bicep curls, which work not much of our body, and it's beneficial for fat loss as a deadlift is, but we still need that variety and that spice. And occasionally we're going to need a little chocolate bar, and it's not going to be as nutritious as a carrot stick, but it's going to give us that little bit of spice and variety in our life. Makes us happy. Okay, so if that made any sense, it does in my head. Exercise plans can't be the same, and neither can meal plans. They have to change. So, but at the same time, the good thing about that is that you'll find things that you love. All right, I love deadlifts, and I love back squats, and I love bench press, and I love leg press, and I can keep those in pretty much every week. All right, breakfast. I love porridge, so I can keep that every week. It doesn't have to change at the moment. I can keep that. I love yogurt. I can have that, and I can keep that. So all of a sudden, we're starting to create a meal plan that suits us for a fairly long period of time, and then we just need to change things as we get sick of them. Just like we have to change our exercise program, we'll have to change our meal plan. So that flexible eating needs to come in, and it needs to be allowing of all ingredients. Now, having said that, we can't be reckless. We have to be very sensible with, all right, well, if we're allowing all ingredients, well, let's allow some chips, let's allow some chocolate, let's allow some wine, and what else? What else? Give me one more. Cheese. Let's have all those things. Now, if we're having all those more higher calorie density foods, then it's going to be easy for us to go over our calories. So it's not that we can't have these, but if we're going to incorporate all of them, then it might be harder for us to achieve a calorie deficit.
But don't you think, Josh, if we are more, and this is where I'm at now, which I didn't think I would ever get to, is now more mindful of where my maintenance calories are, like 2.2 to 2.4, which is huge for me. Yeah. But it gives you that, like, yes, you want to be in fat loss, but just if you do go over, you've still got a certain amount before you actually go over your maintenance as well.
Exactly, yeah. So that's a good point. And hitting that maintenance every now and then can actually be a really positive thing to your training, because you're actually fueling the body to where it wants to be instead of under-fueling it. And if you're constantly in a deficit, you can get under-fueled and feel quite fatigued, lethargic. So yes, that's a great point. But so if we do want to incorporate those 4 things, maybe we have to spread them out, or maybe we have to, choose certain days where we're going to allow that sort of stuff. Everyone's different, so I can't say a rule. For me recently, it's been allowing chicken crimpy shapes. Now, when you when you look at the box, they're a 1-star rating. Unfortunately, they're higher in saturated fats. So if there was an unhealthy food, unsaturated fats would probably be the only one I would say, okay, we do need to limit that one a little bit. But I'm going to allow that and allow that in spits and spurts. So I've had that, I've allowed it, and I've still been in deficit. And because of that, I actually didn't crave any today, so I'm not going to have any. And tomorrow, who knows? I might want them. And if I want them, I'm going to allow them. If it wasn't chicken crimpy shapes, it's probably going to be something else. So I'm going to go with that. If I couldn't control myself, if I was having if I was going over calories every day because of my allowing of chicken crimpy shapes, then I would have to make a decision of what to do next. But that's my, at the moment, this is just now. This is not all the time. So you won't, I won't be buying shares in chicken crimpy shapes or anything. But at the moment, that's what I want. And if I'm going to want it, I'm better off allowing it than I am to ignore it, and then it's all of a sudden just have that blowout that makes me feel really negative about it. All right, I went a little bit off there, but anyway, any questions or any comments or any discussions on that? Nikki, you've had some great input tonight. Appreciate that. And if you have any concerns, I just want to emphasize that if you can't control foods, that's when I think you probably need to take a step back for a while, because those enjoyable foods, let's be honest, those are the ones that taste the nicest and they are the hardest to portion. So if we're not mindful of them and we're not portioning them on a regular basis, and we're just going over our calories because of that, and we're putting on weight, now that's not flexible dieting. That's just overeating. So we need to get that under control in some way. And if it means stepping back from it, or if it means buying little packet portions and then hiding the rest, or telling someone or putting them at someone's house and saying I can only get them on this day, or whatever it takes. But hopefully it doesn't take that. Hopefully you can be on this goal where that goal is more important to you than that chocolate or that packet of chips. And if it's not, then maybe that goal shouldn't really be set at this time. All right, I think that'll do. Hey,
That was good.
Josh. Excellent.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah,
let me know if you have any concerns over the next couple of weeks, or even about this week. But weigh-ins, if you are weighing in, then do that. Make sure you see it on a regular basis, on the same circumstances, ideally, so that it is a bit more accurate. It's never 100% accurate, but an example, Jen, the other day, she won't mind me saying, but she weighed in on a Tuesday and her first weigh-in was on a Saturday, and she was a bit annoyed. But Saturday morning versus Tuesday morning, completely different ends of the week, and so much can happen that's irregular over the weekend. So I would never compare a Saturday weigh-in to a Tuesday weigh-in. And it's the only comparison she has because she's only weighed in once. So in her head, she needs to get more trust in the process, but it's only going to happen by measuring more regularly. And so if you need to measure more regularly, do that. If the scales are doing your head in, get rid of them. Don't worry about them. Focus on just trusting the plan instead. It'll all work. Oh, and one really cool fact I wanted to share with you guys is, I don't think I shared this last week, is Hutch.
yeah, you did.
I did I?
Yeah, but tell them.
Yeah, so Hutch, he's not a big guy. He's only 69, well, it was 69.1 kilos. Gets on the plan, follows everything I was told him to do. Even though, he's not certain about it, but he just says, okay, trust the process, it'll all work. Does everything I asked, and after 12 days, he's usually a pretty quick mover. After 12 days, he's down 300 grams. So that's much less than 0.5% and 1% a week. However, he was down 2.5 kilograms of fat on the body composition scan. He jumped on the scan because he just started to lose a little bit of faith. He felt different. He felt stronger. He felt fitter. He was down a belt size, but he still gets hung up a little bit on the scales, which we all do to some degree. He was down 2.5 kilograms of fat, up 1.9 kilograms of muscle. And his body fat percentage, because of that, is down 3.5, I think it was. No, 3.3% in body fat in 12 days.
Wow.
Now, this muscle, just for those that don't know, this muscle's not going to continue to skyrocket. He's going to be at this, okay, well, it's going to stop there now because yes, I asked him to get on creatine. So he's taking creatine, and there'll be initial influx because of that. And then it's not going to just keep shooting up. The body just doesn't do that. He's also gone from doing no weight training to doing weight training. Now, that stimulus is still weight training. So now that he's been doing it for 12 days, it's still weight training, and it might continue to grow just slightly, but there's going to be a point there where, okay, well, it's still weight training. We're not getting added stimulus. We're not getting more weight training. So our muscle's going to now stay there. And he's in a calorie deficit, so he's not fueling his body enough to continue to grow this. So it's going to stop, and all of a sudden, he's going to see this number shoot down. So if you can push through the patient part where you're trusting the plan, trusting the process, all of a sudden, our high protein, sensible amount of carbohydrate plan, you will notice changes in your body probably before you notice humongous changes on the scales. But if you push through that phase, you'll then start to see it come off quite quickly.
How many calories was he having?
He's only 69.1. He's on 1600. However, that incorporates a Saturday where he basically does what he wants.
Yeah.
So he'll have beers and stuff. So I would suggest he's probably averaging 17 to 18. Yeah, but he's higher in protein than he's ever done before because he knows how much he can have, and he's on the creatine, and creatine, it helps with his strength. So he's got more potential for that muscle. Plus, he's doing more weights than he's ever done. So all those things are combining to getting this amazing drop in body fat percentage, despite not much drop in weight. Whereas if we took away the carbohydrates, a talk last week mentioned about carbohydrates holding fluid. Carbohydrates turns into sugar, and sugar holds fluid. So it's not a bad thing. It fuels the muscles and it stores in the muscles, and fluid goes with that. So if we took all the carbohydrates away, he'd probably have a really quick drop in body weight, because most of that drop will be fluid. But he wouldn't see the same body fat percentage reduction. So the plan's a sensible plan, but it's not going to win on the scales, unfortunately. It will win on the body fat percentage, and it will win on the toning. All right.
Well, that's better than fat loss. What you got?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd be happier than that than seeing him at 66 kilos with the same amount of fat loss. He wants that, but he's always seen the scales move faster. But I've seen him lose 8 kilos in 8 weeks, and in that particular challenge, his muscles went down 1.1 kilos, which led to a rebound effect. So the aim this time is to have more muscle, stay on there, and do it slower, and not have a rebound effect, or as big of a rebound effect. Let's just get slightly better each time if we can.
Yep. Great.
Thanks everyone for joining in.
Thanks, Josh. That's great.
Thanks.